This is how you sew like a pro. With this one trick and this important tip, which I'm about to share with you. When I'm here at the sewing machine, it's really important that the material, meaning the fabric, is always pushed toward the needle. And under no circumstances should you steer or sew like this. Let me show you. And instead, it's pulled tight and then steered from a distance, because that way the top fabric shifts much more than the bottom one. And as a result, I end up with two different lengths. The bottom fabric gets slightly gathered, and the top one gets stretched out. And then in the end, it just doesn't fit anymore. To be safe, I always use pins, and always place them across the fabric. That is very, very important. Now, you sew forward, and I push against it. So I hold the fabric, you can see with my left hand, really close to the presser foot, and with my right hand as well. Depending on how tricky it is to sew, I can also press down here, or at least hold it down up front. But under no circumstances should you pull. Now I start sewing. The fabric didn't shift because I was holding it down, and to check, I look at the pin, and before I reach the pin, I pull it out so I don't damage my sewing machine needle. Otherwise, the needle could break. All right, and now I keep sewing. And you can see my left hand, you can see my right hand. I make sure that the fabric keeps moving forward properly so that the feed dogs of the sewing machine, which are actually really important, do their job, but I still do most of the work by hand. So I basically support the feed dogs, and if there's a big risk that the top fabric gives way too much or gets pushed too far, I can hold the fabric underneath with my right hand and with my left. Gently. Just slide it over so that I have a minimal amount of extra fabric. And while sewing, I hold it in place. So that in the end, at the end of the seam, both pieces are the same length. If you keep that in mind, you've already made a huge step forward in your development. Yeah, this tip is really important. Take it to heart, and you'll see, your sewing projects will turn out even better. The seams will be neat, and they won't pucker anymore. And it's really important to me that you and others are simply well dressed. That's what it's all about. Together, we sew the world even more beautiful. See you next time.